uh, Dharma Futures for the Manav Jati. I'm presenting this to the WAVES Conference 2022. It's a speculative inquiry on Veda-based Dharma and how it might be something that will be become available to the entire global Manav Jati. So how do I get there? I start from a historical perspective, and I propose that the Hindu civilization, that is Veda-based Manav Dharma in Bharat, has been in Glani for over the last 3,500 years or so. And I then talk about various reasons that was so. Perhaps it was the climate change and long-term drought, that all three major civilizational centers, Indus Valley civilization, the Middle Eastern and North African civilizations, and Chinese civilizations underwent during the Bronze Age. Due to the decay, the political and economic structures and processes were disrupted. And that caused a lot of suffering. To step back, the Veda-based Manav Dharma I speak of, I see it as an integral application of Artha, Kam, and Moksha Shastra to support flourishing of Grihastha-ashrama, which I differentiate from Moksha Shastra, or the moksha as an objective. The Grihastha-ashrama as the core objective of Veda-based Manav Dharma, and we'll see how that might turn out to be more positive. So very briefly, as I already said, the decay began in the late Bronze Age, and there was a response about 2,300 years ago to that decay in the form of, interestingly enough, Veda-based Arthashastra re-articulation by Kautilya in Chandragupta Maurya's court. And at around almost the same time, Aristotle wrote about politics and ethics in Greece, and Hanfei proposed a legalist state doctrine to stabilize and deepen the governing state. So all three articulations or re-articulations, the reason I say re-articulation was this knowledge was already available to the Bronze Age civilizational network, and it was a question of smriti, re-remembering and re-articulating. While the Greek and the Chinese civilizations took a more down-to-earth path, speaking about deepening the governing state, speaking about politics and ethics, Bharat took a different path. The same kind of dissatisfaction that other civilizational centers faced were seen in Bharat as well. And Prince Siddhartha Gautama was one outcome of such widespread dissatisfaction. So what did we do? Under his guidance, we began focusing on renouncing our desires and attachments and focusing on personal spiritual freedom, nirvana or moksha. As you know, the prince gave up his Raj Dharma and his Grihastha-ashrama to focus on the solution. And Emperor Ashoka, the son of Chandragupta Maurya, mainstreamed this personal freedom aspect into his state governance and intellectual development processes, resulting in Hindu acharyas also turning to singular focus on Moksha Shastra post Siddhartha Gautama, leading to stagnation of Artha and Kama Shastras, withering away of capacity of Bharat to monitor the dynamic nature of Rita and Deshkal Paristhiti. So in my paper, which goes into far more detail, this is like an overview or trailer to get you interested in actually reading the paper. I speak of Devi's Shakti Swarupa and the Spandana she produces. And Rita and Deshkal Paristhiti are space-time projections that humans can cognize. Um, and of the three, Kama Shastra, Artha Shastra, and Moksha Shastra, Moksha Shastra is the one that is Sanatan because it provides the knowledge of Sat, that is the unchanging. Kama and Artha Shastras provide knowledge of how to live in Asat, that is that which keeps changing. So Asat does not mean, in my interpretation, something that is not true, something that is not real. It means it's something that is changing. And Asat, and that which is changing creates patterns of endurance. It is that which is changing that will have Shrishti, Sthiti, and Laya. And it's the Devi's projection. It's Devi's Shakti Swarupa that is projecting it. And one of those spandana, major spandana, is space-time. So Kama and Arthashastras need to change and adapt to the dynamic nature of Rita and in the context of Deshkal Paristhiti. That is something we seem to have forgotten. Vismara. So to re-emphasize, Rita and Deshkal Paristhiti are two aspects of Asat manifested by Devi's Shakti Swarupa that can be cognized by limited Chetna of Manav Jati. So the limitation that Manav Jati has of our ability to be self-aware, the Sakshi Bhava, and the self-reflection, Pratibidnya, lead us to cognize only parts of the asat, the parts of the patterns. But at least once we understand those patterns, aligning with them is what dharma is all about. So to give an example, cosmic Rita patterns manifesting in space-time become apparent to us. How? In terms of precession of equinoxes. That's the biggest, approximately 26,000 solar year spandana. Then there's the solar spandana, there's the lunar cycles. And the manavs resonate to these cycles, individually as well as socially. And the connection is through prana, and that's something that Adi Shankaracharya's commentary in the Mundaka establishes that it's prana that connects to Manav Jati, and that connection we see within ourselves in our metabolic cycles, hormonal cycles, breath cycles, and thought cycles. So we are actually always resonating with the Devi Spandana. So Deshkal Paristhiti is locally specific configuration of space-time, and effective Artha and Kama Shastras have to be able to adapt to dynamic nature of Rita and locally contextualize to be effective. If we keep going back and referencing Dharma Sutras from 2,300 years ago, it's like my referencing IBM card reader 1620 computers from the 50s and 60s, which I used, by the way, and then trying to use that operating manual to run AWS cloud services based servers today. It won't work, would it? But that's what we are trying to do even now. So it's these kind of perspectives that have made Hindu Sangatana and Bharat vulnerable to attack and less capable of effective response. Let's take two examples. It took almost 500 years of almost continuous raids and occupation by Turco-Mongols flying the flag of Islam. We were like sitting ducks before an innovative Veda-based social organization, the Sikh Panth, emerged to protect the Hindu Sangatana in Punjab. How is that? And Guru Nanak, by the way, was a Grihastha. He was not a brahmachari or swami at a matha. What were the intellectuals doing to deconstruct Islam and to understand what was happening in the Ratha? That in fact the Turco-Mongols, because of the cold snap, the interim ice age that had come up north, were being driven south. That was the change in Ratha. That was known for hundreds of years before. And along the way, they picked up the Islamic flag, but the behavior pattern changed, and that's a separate conversation we can have. The other example is much more relevant to us now, and that is post-16th century onwards, Europeans began with ruling the seas and the coasts because of their superior naval and weapons technology. By 1492, when Vasco da Gama first arrived in Kozhikode, to 1509, when they defeated the joint naval forces of the Ottomans, the Mamluks, and the Sultans. And the only role that Vijayanagara Navy played, apparently, was to actually help the Portuguese Navy to navigate through and defeat these other navies. And in the process, gave the Portuguese Navy dominion over the Arabian Sea. From 1590 onwards, when East India Company was formed, to 1760 or so, when East India Company captured or won the Battle of Plassey, it was Indian bankers and financiers who were financing them. What is that about? Why didn't we learn? Why didn't we go to Europe and learn about their naval and weapons technologies, as well as, even more importantly, their accounting techniques and their joint stock company organization, which is what allowed them to take high-risk projects on and allowed them to develop technology. That's something I have described in far more detail. I don't want to go into that. I just have 12 minutes, and I'm running over already, I think. So what happens now? We do have depth and breadth in Moksha Shastra, no doubt, but we don't have a clue about our own Artha and Kam Shastra. So what do? Currently, Hindus end up imitating and following a materialist European Enlightenment-based political, economic, and social structures and processes on an ad hoc basis. That's what we see in Bharat. Every time some innovation comes up in the West, we imitate them. And it causes us dissonance because we don't understand. It's not organic to us. We are sitting under the materialist tree of knowledge, imitating them and not understanding how that works along with the Moksha Shastra that we are taught. So something else also happened, and that at the same time, not just the economic and social impact, it also impacted our intellectual history. So even the development of Moksha Shastra. Previously, there were the Shakta and Shaiva traditions, which are flourishing in the north and the east. And with the occupation of the Islam by the Islamic flag bearers of the north as well as the east between the 12th and the 16th centuries, all the intellectual development was pushed south, and it has come across since then that the Vedanta traditions being espoused by the Shankara Mathas and then the Ramanujacharya and Madhva Mathas are the main intellectual traditions. And I would say that is not so. If you look at Acharya Vidyaranya's Sarva Darshan Sangraha, he being from the Sringeri Mutt, obviously espouses the Advaita Vedanta and leaves the Sangraha with a one-line nod at Acharya Abhinav Gupta's prolific work. And in fact, he says, yeah, we understand he has done prolific work in Pratibhidnya, and this is not the place to go in depth into it. On the other hand, they do use Pratibhidnya concept within their own ways of thinking later on, but still, it's that Vedanta aspect that comes through with no challenges from the Shakta and Shaiva Mata. The ferment in Vedanta schools of thought also stagnated. So that's where we are. We are basically in a stagnant position. So what's the near future prognosis for Hindu civilization? I see it as continuing dependence on political, economic, and social knowledge systems based on the materials darshana we are in. And Hindus are likely to imitate behaviors on an ad hoc basis from feminist-led AI biotech revolution, which is already unfolding. The moment we open our smartphone, the smartphone is a transhumanist cyborg device. The next step was the watch many of us wear, and soon there will be implants as well. Imitation of these behaviors will cause dissonance for Hindus practicing Moksha Shastra. Succeeding Hindu generations will increasingly see Moksha Shastra-based practices at best as part of a portfolio of self-help techniques. And I believe we are already seeing that, right? We get stressed out trying to imitate and work through Western ways of living, and then we run to manage our stresses using certain techniques from a Moksha Shastra, and it doesn't work. So how can Hindu Manav Dharma rise again? Here are my suggestions. Make Grihastha the focus of Hindu intellectual efforts, not moksha. And once you start deconstructing what is required to support a stable Grihastha, you'll start finding the solutions to that. After all, that's what the Devi says. She is Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Swarupini. If you don't have the Ichha, we can't have the Jnana. And if you don't have the Jnana, we don't know how to act. And we are stuck trying to get to Sat while we manifest in Asat. And we continually demean the Devi by saying the Asat is false, the Asat is unreal. We have to bring the Devi back. And who can do that? Qualified Grihasthas, male and female, take the lead. They will have to be well experienced in Deshkal Paristhiti, what's happening right now, and how to encounter and counter that. And at the same time, be immersed in the practice of Moksha Shastra. Cherish and protect Devasthanas and Mokshacharyas because they do indeed represent the roots of the Veda-based Manav Dharma. And most critically, most importantly, we have to develop physics of prana and biology of jiva to supersede the current space-time physics, the Einsteinian Newtonian physics and Darwinian evolutionary biology. We have to be able to describe the space-time physics and biology in terms of our own physics of prana and jiva. Any descriptions of quantum physics, etc., are based on the assumption that space-time is fundamental reality. And the Veda very convincingly tells us that is not so. And we have to understand how that is not so. And use that as a basis to develop Veda-based karma, Veda-based karma and Arthashastras in a compelling way for all Manav Jati, not just for Hindus of Bharat. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Namaste. I'm done.